Hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Mateo, owner of BOXR and One of One. We're going to be talking about the topic of business fight camp. That's why you guys have come in, and I'm going to give you a full breakdown of how this all equated to today, why BOXR, the gym, has become the most successful gym in the industry worldwide. But the first thing is, before I go into detail, I want to make sure that you guys have got one of these. It's a notepad diary, very important to carry with you throughout your whole day. All right, so that's the first thing. And if you haven't got one, let us know. We'd be more than happy to send one out to you guys for free, so you carry that with you. It's very important. At the same time, it's very important to have one of these things, the whiteboard. You gotta have one in your house. Why? It's very imperative to be able to write down whatever's on your mind, your goals, your business plan, your strategies, because every day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be able to see that and reflect back on it and make sure you cross-check it. If you do not have one, these things are very cheap. They're on Amazon for $100 all the way up to 150. But like I said, get your pens out, get ready to start writing, because we're gonna talk about the business fight camp on how BOXR was created from the very beginning and all the steps I'm gonna go through. I already pre-planned it for you guys on here to go step by step and where it started. And we're gonna go through the first step, the locations, right? We got the parking lots. Now, through 2020, I was training people. I didn't even charge them anything. It was more so the fact that it was based off passion, and it was based off the fact that I had acquired 19 years of boxing experience with some of the best people in the world. And through that, I had to get creative in COVID where I didn't have money, right? And I had two mitts, really shitty mitts, Everlast ones from Dick's Sporting Goods. You could hardly even catch the punches with these things, but you know what? I had to utilize with what I had. No equipment, no plan, and not understanding if I was ready enough to be a coach or not. But that was the risk I was willing to take. And that came back to the mindset, right? Mindset is everything when you're beginning. Making sure that your values are aligned, you're disciplined, you're consistent, you're a risk taker, and you're willing to actually believe in yourself that this is actually possible. You don't need to have a gym at the very beginning. And this goes for the beginners. The beginners that are starting out, that don't have the capital in order to build a gym, you could actually do it anywhere. You could do it right here in this backyard. You know, like, look how beautiful this place is. It could be in your own backyard. It could be out in the park. It could be anywhere in your surroundings where you think that it's gonna attract clients to come to you, or you could take your clients there to be able to train them and give them the experience, because everything is based off energy. And that's the first thing. That's the first component that comes to play. It's how you are conversing with a person and how they relate to you, and if there's a connection there. Building the connection is everything, right? So connection, right, is the mindset and the beginning stages to starting off before you train people. You gotta have people skills. And I go back to the fact that back then for me, it was more so the fact that I thought the world owed me something. I was very self-centered. I was very selfish. I didn't want to go up and speak to people. I thought people had to come and speak to me. And I go back to this thing of saying, I thought the world owed me something. No, I actually owed the world something, because I got all these hidden talents that I'm not utilizing to my fullest advantage to give to people through life experience. That means I'm being selfish, I'm keeping it to myself, and I'm not willing to give to the people. The business that we're in, and it's the fitness industry, which is coaching. And these are the beginning stages of being a trainer and a coach and getting creative, is that you've acquired so many things over so many years of you're putting your body through so much for what? Why are you keeping it to yourself when you could give it to people where they can learn and benefit from and be better and look up to you as a mentor, right? Ask yourself one question. Write down in the book right now. Doesn't matter what you've done, whether it's bodybuilding, boxing, MMA, learning fitness, going to school and acquiring certificates and certifications. Write down in your book right now how many years of experience you've acquired and how much money you've spent to learn all these different skill sets, but you're not doing anything with it today. Write it down. You got a few minutes. You write it in your notebook and think about everything that you've acquired and how many years. So you write down here, you go, all right, well, I've been boxing for 22 years. I've spent oh my God, at least 250 to half a million since I was a kid, right? That's through sponsorships, that's through people supporting me, my father paying for tickets, competitions, you name it. All that information that I acquired and extracted, and all the best coaches in the world. Why in the hell am I just gonna let it go to waste and go work a 9-to-5 job? Or just be like, you know what? Nobody should deserve to know this. Well, this is where I snapped my fingers and I came out of my bad habits. And I was like, you know what? Fuck that shit. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, get uncomfortable a little bit, and start conversing with people. And stop thinking to myself that the world owes me something or the people need to come and speak to me. No, I'm going to step out and I'm going to go and speak to the people. And I'm going to start hitting on talents and information of what I had. And I'm going to try and see if it actually works by passing it down to people that deserve to understand the knowledge that I've been able to acquire, because I'm a special, unique individual that's out here in Miami, right? So when you write that down and you really have a think about it, of all the shit you put yourself through, all the training, all the 5 a.m. starts, and I know there's people out there that are behind this, that are watching, that are going, damn, bro, I think about and go back in time of all the stuff I went through, my amateur fights, the hits I've taken, you know, the restless nights, no money, training and not making money as a fighter, or even as somebody that was a trainer. You've acquired all this information, but don't know how to actually get started. You got to write down on the board, and I'll flip it around and I'll come back to this, is, all right, we got a lot of stuff on this side, but let me wipe it off. It's very important at the beginning stages to understand exactly what your pros and what your cons are, right? Now, if you really want to go into detail about this, Mateo, that's the heading, and then we go pros and we go cons, right? Now, I know what my cons are. I'm gonna start with the cons. The cons are self-centered. This was back then. Selfish. Financially not savvy. Communication. Relationships. No money. All right, this is just a little breakdown, just quickly. You know, back then in 2019, 2020, this was my problem. This was my problem. This was my problem. Communication was my problem. Relationships was my problem, and no money, right? But let's take a look at the pros. 22 years of boxing experience. Discipline as a motherfucker if I put my mind to it. All right? The other thing is, I'm a risk taker. I'm loyal as hell. I'm a workhorse. And the list can keep going on, right? I'm just giving you a brief on this. And now, by knowing that my pros, I got 22 years of experience in boxing. I'm as disciplined as fuck when I put my mind to something. I'm a risk taker, which means, hey, I'm willing to take the risk, do or die. You know what I mean? I'm as loyal as it comes when it comes to people that are very close to me. I will not burn my bridges with nobody just because I've been brought up a certain way from my father and my mother, and I take that with me. And I'm a workhorse. I'll work as hard as as the days get long. I don't care. I don't think about the hours. I remember when I was fighting and boxing, I would do whatever it takes, right? So being self-centered, when you think about it, I can remove this. Easy. Selfish, remove. Financially not savvy, I can figure that out. Communication. This is the hardest thing, because you got to break out of bad habits in order to know how to do good communication, right? Good communication is important. People say they know how to communicate, but really good communication is very important. My relationships, all right, I had no relationships. So this was another issue that I had to face that was very important. And I had no money. Without money, what are you going to do, right? But guess what I did? I went here first. And what is this? This is my passion. This is what I acquired. This is the most important piece of real estate that I've acquired as an individual inside of myself that I've been keeping away from everybody for a very, very long time. And I went off the rails because I thought to myself that the money was more important than this, which is my passion and my love. But guess what? I'm not utilizing this to my fullest advantage because I don't realize that I could teach this unless I give it a trial or a test, right? So I'm disciplined. I'm a risk taker, I'm loyal, and I'm a workhorse. These things are actually outpowering these things because these things are actually easy to fix. They're not hard. They're very doable, right? So I had to make this change, and this change, and I had to make this change. In order to do those things, I had to apply all these things in the right direction. Now, I'm gonna flip back over. We're gonna go back. The parking lot. In order to work in the parking lot, how could I work and operate in a parking lot if I'm gonna be selfish, number one? I'm gonna be self-centered. I'm gonna expect people to come to me. I'm gonna think that the money's just gonna come through and you know, I can just sit outside and just think that people are gonna swarm every day thinking that they're gonna need boxing lessons in COVID. It doesn't work like that. So I broke bad habits, number one. Number two, I decided to demonstrate my ability in front of people in the gym where it automatically attracted people, and then I made relationships through my actions, showing exactly what I'm capable of doing, but not in a show-off way, in an actual way where people were attracted to me and they go, damn, this guy's grinding, this guy's working, this guy's actually a beast. Look at him, look at the way he looks. So I capitalized on my image, number one. I capitalized also on my demonstration of what I know in boxing, because people know exactly whether you're full of shit, you know how to fight, or you don't, right? So I showed my skill set. I also came across where I took the egotistic side of me out and I became very friendly. And I was like, you know what? People are approaching me. I'm gonna reciprocate back in a nice, positive manner and see what the reaction could potentially be. And guess what? It goes back to the connection and the relationship. And that's how I was able to form one-on-one training sessions in the parking lot. Now, at that time, while I'm training, I don't know what the price point is because I really didn't, I never found out what and how much people were charging in Miami for one-on-one sessions because COVID is shut down and nobody around is doing boxing classes or boxing one-on-one sessions. All I knew is back in the days when I was doing one-on-one sessions with real boxing coaches, $30, $40, $50. So my idea was, well, if I love what I do and it's based off, and I'll put this word up here so you guys can follow treat, is passion. This is a very important trait to have in your value system, and it's a piece of real estate that can flourish with you through the whole entire journey. But you got to keep this thing alive, right? But you got to spark it. There's no point of just keeping it inside of you. You say you love it, you care about it, but you're not doing nothing with it. So I applied passion into the parking lots with my first clients that I ever had. And without the money, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this for fun. I'm going to do this out of love and passion to teach these people the fundamentals about boxing. And let me do it without having anything in return. Because when you do something without asking somebody, it's like you go to your friend and you're like, look, man, I'm going to do this for you because genuinely I like you. I care about you. I don't expect nothing in return except for your friendship and how much you care for me. That's the same thing that I started with. And that's what helped me develop to where I am today. And that's what helped me develop the relationships I had at the beginning, because the first clients that I did ever have are still with me today at my gym where I'm at. None of them flopped, right? And that's based off characteristics and who I am as a person, because I genuinely cared about what I was teaching them. Now, through the parking lots, let's go into a little bit more detail. We'll talk about the first section here in the parking lots, square footage. The square footage of the parking lot was actually at a gym downstairs where it had like 30 cars, and I used a portion of 2 car spaces to create the boundaries of a boxing ring. So I got very creative with it. And I programmed it out where the first thing was I stretched them, they did jump rope, I incorporated shadow boxing. I went from shadow boxing to doing mitt work, from mitt work to doing some cardio and fitness training, and then some ab work, and utilizing my environment space to create the workout. And this was based off everything I learned back in Australia as a young kid, and what the coaches taught me, and everything else that I learned from some of the best coaches in the world, right? And then I created my own program. So I bent the rules and I changed it up. And I actually had fun doing it. So it wasn't something that I was like, damn, you know what? I got to do it this way because this is how they're going to like it. No, I did it the way that I thought would work best in their best interest to get the results. And I was challenged in my mind to see results, because if I could teach them what I learned and it's passed down and I see a difference, right? Then I automatically know that whatever I'm teaching them is going to work. And that was the challenge that I had, was seeing people happy, number one, knowing that they learned fundamentals, because at any given time, that skill set that I learned could be passed down to them, where they could use in a real life situation to self-defend themselves, or they could take that on and pass it on to their kids, or, you know, for their fitness and mental well-being, because boxing is such a mental sport where you need to be calculated, which could help them in their everyday lives in business and making calculated decision makings, you know? So with that being said, how much is coming to the table and how much am I delivering? But I never put a price point. How's that for you? This is what it was. You ready? That was the price point, right? But guess what I said? Whatever you think my value's worth is. Now, it's a little messy on the board. This is how I write. Sorry, it's maybe a little hard to read, but you get the gist. $0. I applied passion into it. They asked me, how much do I owe you? I go, whatever you think my value's worth is. If you see results, then you pay me what you think is fair. You know why? Because I don't know what my value's worth is at that point, because I'm trialing myself, training these people. I've never stepped in an industry like this. I've never coached. I've never engaged with people. So for me to give a price point, I don't know. But what I do know is it's my time to be able to make good relationships with people, because I don't know anyone out here. And if I do, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna pass it down to other people, and then I'm gonna get more clients, and I'm gonna get more testimonies, and then I'm gonna be able to understand later down the track maybe really what my value's worth is. So for that month, people were actually paying me this sort of money. And it's crazy, right? I have $2,000 in my bank account. And this is what people were paying me. They were tipping me $30 to $40, right? And I looked at that money like, damn, I just made some money from one-on-one training that I've never done in my life. I was at the happiest moment in my life, and I got so much joy out of it because, bro, I could teach. I found what my purpose is. And so at that point, that $30, $40, bro, I didn't really care. You know, like I was at more joy in myself, knowing the fact that I was training people right here in parking lots while everyone's locked up in their apartments, and all you hear was do. Make sure you throw a 1-2 like this. You got to move your feet and move to the side and angle it and pivot and boom, boom, boom. And then I saw the transformations with my clients. I'm like, damn, mind you, I don't know my clients like that. I just met them through the gym. So I don't know their background. I don't really know what they do for work. This was just going on the fly, right? But guess what? Those clients decided to do this. You ready? From the $30, $40 tips, it increased, and I still didn't put a price point. How's this for you? $60. to $70. So I went from nothing to 30 to 40 to paying me 60 to 70, right? But guess what that did? That funneled to more clients. And those more clients ended up paying me the same rate at 60 to 70. And that was from me not even putting a price point. I still kept it as, you pay me what you think my value is worth. How's that for you? All right. So those were the beginning stages of my career in the field of coaching and teaching. Now, sorry, it's a little bit of a mess here, but you get a gist. Now, this was happening in 2020 for 4 to 6 months in the parking lots. Now, at that time, we covered the square footage. It was 2 parking spaces. That's what I used as a ring, and that's what I used as a space. I also used the little humps at the front where the cars get parked. They do dips, push-ups for conditioning workouts, and then the lines that were between the 2 parking spaces, I would use it for footwork technique. So then when they would move forward, you would move forward, you'll move back, move forward, move back. So you got offense, defense. I used everything in my environment space without equipment to be able to create the perfect workout routine to provide to my clients. But the most important thing was that I always provided the best energy. I was very factual on my fundamentals of teaching, and I made sure it was fun, and they walked away feeling great because they lost weight and they looked good. And guess what? They're still with me today at the BOXR headquarters. So moving along from that to the pricing, to the revenue. On the revenue of that, like just on a ballpark, I would say $2,000 a month, maybe even less. I would say anywhere between $1,500 to $200. When I was hitting the $60 to $70, I had some clients that came through, but there was people like that were also traveling, coming back and forth, but I was trying to stay as consistent as possible. Now that wasn't even covering my rent. But at the time, because of COVID, you know, they made sure that, hey guys, we know people are not working, you don't have to pay the rent right now. So what I did was every little money that I had, I put it away. I stacked, right? Not knowing what is gonna come next. Now, one of my first clients, and you guys, if you're in the YouTube world and you know who this person is, you'll know that this man has worked very hard to be able to get to where he is. He's a very good dear friend of mine. You got Chris Herrier, the calisthenic king, right? Now, I didn't know who he was, but I was training him on the boxing side, him and his brother Stefan. And they brought me into their space that they had in where we were staying, and I was living in the same building, and downstairs is where I was doing the training. When I saw their setup and their layout, I was like, bro, you guys are training people out here? He's like, nah, I do all my content in here for my people. And I looked at him like, damn, this would be crazy to do a boxing gym inside of a space like this, maybe inside my apartment. And he looked at me, he's like, bro, if you do that, you'll kill it. Now we're talking about a guy that's making millions every month, but I still don't know who he really is, right? So, but I took the advice and I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm gonna get another apartment in that building with the money that I got and the money that I borrowed from family. I begged family back home because I saw, you know what? I saw a little light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see the full scope, but I felt great and I felt like I'm not going backwards. I found my niche. I found myself to be confident in this space, and I'm gonna try to do something that nobody's ever done and nobody has till today. And that 2-level loft apartment, we're gonna go to the square footage, was 1,300 square feet, 2 levels, a front balcony, a back balcony. The view was of the Miami skyline and the back was towards Wynwood. But I got so creative with that space that I was like, I'm gonna turn the living room and put a boxing ring in there. I'm gonna put something when people walk in, they see a big portrait of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is one of my favorite fighters. And people, when they look at Mike, they go, damn, he's a beast. I want people to walk in and feel like they're a beast by the time that they leave. At the same time, the bedroom upstairs was converted into 6 bags that were hanging. So you do all your bag work on the 2nd level. And then I added a recovery section where on the back balcony, I had an ice plunge. Then I also set up a podcast studio in the living area, which was under the staircase. So basically the whole setup was a private boxing experience studio where all my clients could come from the streets, from the parking lots, and they could come to an experience space that would create something for them to look forward to every single time that would come through. It was an experience now. Now, It's not about the loft and it's not about the parking lots. This is the key fundamental word, and I want you guys to write this. It's very important. And I repeat this. It's the experience. If you can create an experience for your clients and for your consumers that they'll never forget, then you'll keep those people for life. And they will respect you because you went more and beyond to give them that experience. And experience comes down to certain key factors, right? First thing is energy. Number one, greetings. Setup. How you present it. Right? So with all that being said, the experience before you even open is the most important thing. And you got to feel the joy out of it, but you also got to analyze and watch with your clients when they start coming in, peep them, pay attention to them. Forget about just taking the money. Watch how they react to it. And if they react in a way that's like, oh my God, I've never seen a place like this, then you already know you did something right. That means, bro, you're on the right path. And that's exactly what happened. Why? Because why would my clients feel like that? Because they felt this. I put love and passion into the project. I put every single last bit of dime into that. Remember this. We're talking about a 1,300 square foot space. I signed a 1-year lease. I dropped $3,800 in bread. First, last, and sign up. First, I'm going back to membership. First, last, and a security deposit, right? So I'm on the hook. I spent around $8,000 on the setup, right? I got to Ringside because that was the only website I knew. I got the bags from Ringside. They worked out a great deal. But what I did was I reached out to them directly. I told them who I was. I told them this, that, da, da, da. And they were the beginning stages that I started negotiating because I knew that if I paid full premium on all the pricing, at the same time, I'm going to be like, damn, I'm not going to have enough money to make this happen. So what did I do? I sat back and I thought about what would my father do to make this happen? You know what he did? Let's break this down. I know it sounds a little crazy to some people, but this word here, I think this is how you spell it. Finesse. Finessing and negotiating to get what you need to do the setup with the budget that you have, because you're limited in how much money you have to buy the stuff that you need to provide the experience that you want to give, right? So you need to finesse it and you need to negotiate it. And those are the key things. And how do you finesse? You got to work on your negotiation skills. You need to throw yourself into the deep end and figure it out. Rain, hail, or shine, you got to figure it out, because end of the day, time is against you and you need to open the doors and you want to be able to provide the experience that your consumers want, but you're limited on the amount of money that you got. Well, figure it out. Find a way. Go through every website, go through all your connections, think about it really hard on how you're going to make a loft apartment profitable, and you're going to be able to do a setup between 8 to 10K. Now, 8 to 10K to do a little boxing gym, that's not a lot of money. But I pulled it off, right? I did whatever it took. Now, through that, my memberships, right? I didn't have any memberships. I was still doing one-on-one training, but my pricing went up, right? So people started paying me $80 to $100 a session. So my rev went up. My revenue had to go up, because how was I going to afford to pay the rent, right? All my money has been thrown in. It's reinvested into that. Now I have a brand, because my fight name was BOXR, and I took that and I applied it into the loft, and I realized, damn, I have a good name. I'm going to put it up. I'm going to trademark it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to utilize this as a brand, not as just a gym. Then people will remember the brand and the name before anything else. Who's connected to the brand? I am. So I would like you guys to write down in your notepad another very important key point. Do you want to have a face to your brand or to your name, or would you rather it to be corporate? Because look, yes, there is a time where you're going to have to go corporate if you want to go corporate and you want to scale. But if you really want to kickstart it correctly, and this is for the beginners, it's very important to understand the face to the brand or just the brand itself and how you want it to project it out, because from what I've experienced through this whole time frame of building it from ground zero up and training people out of parking lots, my face is something that is connected to the brand. Having a face connected to the brand is very important because people relate to people immediately. When I say Michael Jordan, what do you think of? Nike. Okay. When we think of somebody like Missy Elliott, Adidas, you know what I mean? So it's like every brand has a face that you can relate to. And that's what I did with my brand. And I learned that and thought about that through what my parents built back in the day, right? But that's another story to go into. Now, I'm charging $80 to $100 a session. I'm grinding out, right? Through the loft apartment. Through November 2020 to 2021, I was only there for 3 months. Now, why did I stay for 3 months? Well, in that time frame, I'm standing on the loft apartment and I'm looking down, right? I'm looking down and I see a gym downstairs that I used to train at. But at that time as well, I was also doing classes for another gym. And those classes at the gym are down here. Check this out. Right here, $20 to $25 a class. Now, should I have asked for more money? Maybe. But guess what I thought about? Imagine the people that I could recruit from that class. Imagine how many more clients I could pull from there to convert them to make $80 to $100. This is what I teach my trainers today. Sometimes doing classes is actually very, very important. And it's not about how much money you make in the class. It's how many people you can recruit from the class to convert them to a one-on-one session, because guess what? Everybody in that class wants to outdo each other or show that they're better and they want to be challenged, or they just want to perfect whatever they're learning, because in a class, you're very limited to teach all the fundamentals. And with that being said, this is where I did this. I converted people from here and I converted them over here to teach them the real fundamentals about boxing, because there is so much I can do in one class. But I made it fun, right? I made the classes fun. I made them unique. I gave everybody a challenge. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was learning. And I was converting people over. And guess what? They loved the loft because the loft gave them the experience. And from that experience, they still did the classes, right? So think about it. Doing the classes was actually the best thing that I ever did, because it actually excited me. It actually challenged me to be able to, like, instead of training one person, how am I training 15 to 20 people? Is that even, like, am I able to do that? Maybe the nerves are kicking in. Maybe I'm not confident enough to actually do it. But how do I know unless I try? So I did. With that dead space in the gym next door, I put myself to the challenge. I put myself to the test of how I was able to hold classes and converse all the knowledge I learned to 15 to 20 people a class. Now, that's not easy for everyone. But I stepped in and I took the advantage, because right here, as I'm doing the one-on-ones, I realized that in order to get more people, this was the other way. So I leveraged off this to get more people in here into the loft apartment, which will make me more money, right? So after standing on the apartment for one night, I'm like, damn, that gym down there, they got a dead space. They got a boxing ring, they got bags, and I'm the only one doing classes in there. So you know what? I'm gonna pitch for the first time in my entire life to the owner of this gym. Have I ever pitched anyone before? Hell no. Do I have any business experience? Hell no. Do I have any certificates, or I'm going to, school for entrepreneurship? Hell no. I'm just a guy that's teaching people boxing fundamentals. And I got my first gym, right? So I got my clients. I have good clients. But you know what? Through my good clients that I was training, they gave me some tips, because they're all in business. And those people actually gave me some great ideas. And one of them was like, hey, look, Matt, you know what? You're doing so good that have you ever thought about going into that gym that you do classes and speaking to the owner and doing a full-blown boxing section? I was like, nah. And they gave me the seed. And they said, you should show the owner your gym facility that you got up here because nobody's ever done this. So I would like you guys to even think about, check online. Has anyone ever turned a penthouse condo into a boxing facility or converted it completely where there's a boxing ring, there's bags, you got the skyline of Miami and just done it within 3 months and being able to, make money from it? And no, it's never been done. You can check online. No one's done it like that. But I did. I got creative. I bent the rules. I put a ring inside of an apartment. That's never been done like that before. But yeah, I took the information from my clients and bro, my clients are amazing. They're still to today, I have a great relationship with them. They planted the seed and I ended up inviting the owner from that gym to come upstairs and I said, hey, come upstairs. He walked in and was like, man, I ain't never seen anything like this. You've been training out of this place this whole time? I'm like, yeah, I've been training my clients out of here. I've been working with them. This was my vision, and this is what I present to them. My clients will walk into the apartment. They have their meals in the fridge. They have a ring. They have some pre-workouts, some coffees. They have a podcast section so they could, even if they want to do some work or their own little podcast, there was a little, chin-up bar with some weights and stuff. You go upstairs, they got the bags. I could do their mitt work in there privately. No one knows what's going on. They got the view of Miami skyline. It gave them the experience. And they got an ice plunge upstairs and a shower. So he basically said, so what do you need from me? And I was like, look, man, never done this before, but I thought I'd bring this to your attention. Like maybe this could be a win-win situation where, hey, I could go downstairs, take that dead space that you have, you make money from me, and I can continue to build my brand and in a bigger space and I can expand it. Guess what he said? Yes. He goes, you know what? I could make the money. And you know what? It went from 3,700 or 3,800 to now $8,000, right? Now I'm not making that sort of money. And mind you, I have a 1-year lease and this was me already in 3 months at the apartment. How am I gonna juggle the two and afford to pay for that and for that? Now we're in really deep. We're over the mark now. I have no money. I got no money to support this. And this guy wanted a first and a security deposit on a sublease, right? So I had to go into warfare mode, right? I had to think really hard about this because I could be really, really like bending it too hard at this point. But guess what? I still pushed. I still took a risk. And I thought to myself, well, this is the only way that I can make this happen. I don't know what else could be there at the end of the tunnel too, but it is an opportunity that has presented itself and it can only come around once. Because if I didn't take it, I don't know where I'd be, you know what I mean? So in saying that, there's an opportunity, let's take it, and we'll figure it out as we're going, right? That's the best way to go about things sometimes. But you gotta be calculated too, and you gotta be strategic and smart about it. My thing was this. He was the #1 gym in Miami that had everyone. So this is where I was like, you know what? If I work this shit really hard, I'm gonna bring one thing. A boxing culture that they do not have. I'm gonna give my one-on-one clients a better experience. What else? I can build my brand. Leveraging off the gym because of everybody there. You see? The other thing is, I negotiated to give me a few months so I could build and then I could start paying the rent. But guess what I did? I made a sense of urgency to build that shit in 2 weeks. I built the first facility with a sense of urgency of 2 weeks, and I negotiated from learning all the stuff from getting the bags and hitting up ringside. I negotiated with the owner to give me some free abatement and free rent so I could continue I could make some money quick at the beginning because there's a sense of urgency. I'm not going to waste the time, the free rent that he's giving me. I'm going to capitalize off that. And guess what I'm going to do? Pre-sales. And by doing pre-sales, I did everything with the first stages of marketing, right? And this is where I don't even have a team. It's just myself coming up with something where I was like, you know what? The first thing I did was this. A banner. And the banner had BOXR, the big square box, and it was located as soon as people walked in to the third facility from elevation, because it was all connected. And as they walked in, the first thing I said was a big banner that said BOXR coming soon. Everybody was so fucking curious about that. Now, did I know anything about marketing? No. Did I know anything about doing things like, capturing people and leads? Hell no, I don't know any of that. But what I did was something very simple. I put up a banner. And that banner attracted so many people in the gym to figure out what was going on. And I got pre-sales. So people were already paying for a membership on a pre-sale. Pre-sale now was $99. Now we're going into the membership blueprint stage, where I went from being a student, from the student to the trainer, from the trainer, and I'm in business stage right now. I'm like tapping in on the business stage, but I don't know too much about it. And there is stages to this where I'm going to explain it from going from coach to the CEO, to the businessman, and to the CEO. But as of right now, I created a $99 package for unlimited classes. That's what I focused on. At the same time, remember, I'm stuck on that lease. This is where you're going to take the hits. This is where the burdens come in. And this is part of the process of actually building a company and building a gym. You're going to have shit, you're going to have headaches, but you're going to have to suck it up, and you're going to have to figure it out on how to overcome those situations. It's okay. Those things there, you'll figure it out. But the main focus is take the opportunity, focus on the limelight that's there, and then those things, address them as you're going through building the gym, which is this stage here, right? The square footage of that, we went from 1,300 to 3,000 square feet, right? Which is nearly double. Now the space was actually perfect. I had one ring, I had 10 bags, I had 2 speed bags, and I put a motorcycle in the front that was like, it was my boy's motorcycle, and they were the beginning stages of a vision that I thought that this was the best gym in the world, right? So when I looked at it, I'm like, all right, motorcycle, front desk, this, that, the bags. Then I had a little office in the back, put some merch up, and the people started coming. Now, as the people started coming, I still kept doing what I did from the beginning on the basics, which means everything that I did inside of the parking lots, I never changed my thought process here. I still kept the same mindset through to the loft and through to the gym. The only difference was when I kept that mindset from here and brought it to here, more people were attracted to the situation. Back then, I was doing it in the parking lots where not many people would see what's going on. But because I was in Elevation Fitness and I had my own space, and people were like, damn, this guy's really making it. Bro, I started to do things like, I started to make more noise. I started to make, my clients stand out more from the rest. People were attracted to it. My energy was contagious at that time because everyone's like, yo, I want to join. I want to get involved. They saw the classes. I bumped the right music. I brought the right vibes. I created the right layout where key factors. You ready? Lighting is important. Music is important. Front desk is important. Creating the vibe is important. The coaches that are doing the classes is important, right? People miss these things. They think it's just about buying the most expensive equipment, but they miss out on the right lighting, the right music, the right front desk, on who's at the front desk, on point of entry and exit, the vibe, and the coaches that are actually expressing themselves. Because whatever coaches that are teaching the classes and they're giving that energy to the people, and the people are screaming and enjoying themselves, what does that do? that attracts more people because they're curious and they want to be a part of something, which it ends up becoming all these factors here creates into what? Think about it. What does it do? It creates a culture. Culture, community is everything, right? And I preach that and I live by that on a daily. And my team has learned to become so, I'm so appreciative for my team because they understand what I'm trying to do with the vision, and it's based off culture and community. If it wasn't for this, then none of this would exist up to today. But I created this at the very beginning of the parking lots. So this started to pump up with the culture because of everything that I implemented. Now, we're gonna go to pricing. We said $99. Now, my one-on-one sessions at that time went from $100 to $150 a session. But you know what I did? There started to become a little bit of a high demand because of the type of clientele I had, right? This is what I did. You want me? I'm gonna do a retainer. You know why? Because if I get the retainer, my theory is this. It's not about getting just all the money up front. The key is this. I sat down with my clients, and if you can do this, it's actually in your best benefit. And I preach this to my coaches. I sit down, I bring a piece of paper and I sit down with my client and I go, listen, I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time, because in the end of the day, time is precious and money is important too for you or where it's going. So then if that's the case and you want to stay dedicated, you want to train, and these are your goals, which I want to understand what your goals are so I can successfully help you reach them, then doing a one-on-one session and paying me $100, $150, and then you say you're gonna come on Thursday, but then you're not staying committed. So then what's the point of paying me to help you get the results that you want? No, it's not gonna work like that. So rather than do that, let's make a commitment. You make a commitment to me, I make a commitment to you, and the minimum of every week is at least doing 3 times a week of training in 4 weeks, right? But I'm gonna be charging, I usually, and you can get creative with this. For me, I got creative. I went, you know what? $200, right? Now to me, $200 at that time was a lot of money to charge somebody. But maybe to a lot of coaches these days, that's not a lot of money. But at that point, I want you guys to think about, like, if you're a coach and you're watching this, write down how much you think your value is worth, right? And then calculate it by, let's say, a minimum of what you would do with them on a weekly basis. I was doing I would not take anyone else unless they put 3 times a week on a minimum, because in that time frame, it's very important for them to get the results, because you're putting in a lot of time and you want to see results. You can't do once a week at 4 times in a month. It's not going to work. You got to do a minimum of 3. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? And then I did a breakdown, right? So I say to them, look, I charge $200. That's my average on doing a session. But look, I'm gonna take care of you on this. Let's knock off the 200 a session. I could do it at, let's say, 135, right? Now, how does that look in your eyes at 135 compared to 200? And you can pay me up front for 3 sessions, which means how much money are you saving? Grab your calculator out. You know what that is. Do the math. Now, that's one of my clients. But guess what? That client is a valuable client. We're talking like real value. Now, he got money. He really had money. But guess what he's gonna do for me later down the track? First of all, he's gonna support my business. I have memberships running inside my gym, which means he's gonna send clients that are gonna sign up to my gym, which means I'm making money on the $99. I don't need any more one-on-one clients. I wanna build my blueprint of now I'm getting into the gym space, because my time is precious right now. I wanna work on branding. I wanna work on marketing the gym. I wanna work on the systems. I wanna work on getting in front of the camera. Now, he's a very high value client, and he's given me a lot of value because he supported me from the parking lots, right? And he gave me business advice that nobody else taught me. So then how valuable is that person? but I'm still going to charge him because my time is very important. But right now, as we speak, you know, we're talking about something like this. Look, let's get the calculator out. And mind you, every day when I teach my team, when we're doing sales, and we'll get into that into another module, they always bring the calculator out to show the people exactly what they're paying for and what the discount is, because when you visually see it compared to just saying it, it's better to be able to show them. Most people will actually sign up because you're showing them rather than you just speaking it out. And that's something that I've learned over the years from the very beginning. Now at 135, right? 135 times 3 equals 405 times 4 equals, that's 1,620. We're talking about 1,700, right? I just got 1,700 up front. Not bad, right? Not bad money at all. And we're talking about the first couple of months of going into the new space after just charging people like $80 a session, and they're just paying me, they're selling me here and there. Nah, bro, I'm gonna be more professional with this. I'm gonna get them to be more committed, and I'm gonna get more committed to them. They're gonna take me seriously. They're gonna rep my brand. They're gonna send people to my gym for $99 signups. And I have a very good relationship that I built with this person that's gonna go on for a long time that I may use later down the track, right? So is it worth the value? 1,000%. Now, if I get other people that I don't know like that, I'm gonna charge them, right? So I'm gonna charge them a certain premium, but then I'm on retainers now. So I could collect up to, let's say at the start of every month, on the first or second of every month, I'll have 5 clients. I'm pocketing now $10,000 to $15,000 if I want, right? While my gym, I'm working it. It's hard work. It's blood, sweat, and tears. I'm doing classes, number one. 5 classes a day, 6 days a week. In between every class, I'm running and doing my one-on-one sessions to make that $10,000 to $15,000. Plus, I got $99 memberships coming in on a revenue. And then at the same time, I gotta do the video work and the promo work, and I gotta keep it consistent, open at 7 a.m. in the morning, close at 8 p.m. at night, run the POS systems. This shit is back and forth, right? But guess what? I love this shit. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And I saw the people's faces and they're smiling and they love being in there. And that's what kept me going. That's what kept me going all the way up to the present day. And I still keep the same, and I'll go back to it, the same mindset from here has still not changed till today, right? If anything, I've acquired more experience on everything that I've learned. Now, we're going from 2021 and we're still in 2021 for 8 months straight. At that time, memberships are still at $99 and I'm still doing one-on-one sessions. So the revenue that came in was $44,000 a month, right? We nearly have 50 grand in 8 months. We're talking about a kid that had $2,000 in his pocket in 2020, at the end of 2020, 2 grand, right? Making a bare minimum of $2,000 a month to now making in 8 months nearly 50 grand, right? And this is off organic growth. This is not paid marketing, mind you. No paid marketing, no one on the streets giving out flyers and stuff. This is of organic growth, word of mouth, and people watching the hard efforts and hard work. But guess what I did? I made sure that people believed in me. I kept my relationship solid. I kept it good, right? Now you're probably asking like, why does this cut off here, right? In 8 months. Well, the beautiful story about this is I was forced out, right? I was forced out of that situation. I thought that I had a gold mine. I actually pitched the owner for more space in that area space. The whole entire space was about 5,500 to 6,000 square feet. I had half of it. We split it and we put like a glass partition going across, and my space was in there, and he was still running that space. Now, I have nothing bad to say about that person, but obviously because business gets in the way, you know, whoever his partners were at the time, they said, hey, we need the space. And I respected it. It is what it is. And if it wasn't for that, hey, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it was a negative that turned into a positive, but I took it upon myself to be able to go, all right, well, we got to figure it out. Because at this point, we have 450 members that I built in 8 months that is not going to have a home to go to. And they're loyal members. They're members that I've retained. I've stayed consistent. They love the gym. And I've created something in their lives that's a part of them now where, hey, I got to figure it out. So in saying that, this is what we did. Now, mind you, I just want to do a little breakdown on this. People think, all right, he's making 44 grand, nearly 50 grand a month. He must be profiting, making money. Brother, it doesn't work like that. This is how it works. All right, we got 44,000. We have our rent. 8,000. We have MindBody every month, the POS system. On a rough average, I can't really remember, but let's just put an average of, let's say, $250 for the POS, and then you got your fees. Let's say let's say on the fees they were keeping like $100, and then let's say electricity, it was maybe like 400 because I was running quite a bit of electricity in there. And then I had my coaches at the time on payroll, so let's say another 1,000. And then at that time I had to still pay for the rent that was in that apartment because I couldn't, if I broke the lease I would have been done. So I was paying another $3,800 a month on top of that. I invested money into the gym every month to get more, right? So every month I was investing another, let's say 1,000. And then I paid myself to pay my own bills, right? Which is my rent to cover everything. Let's say 6,000. Insurance, which was about 1,500. Man, like I can keep going, right? So let's just do a rough calculation. So 8,000 plus 250 plus 100 plus 400 plus 1,000 plus 3,800 plus 1,000 plus 6,000 plus 1,500 plus my salary, which was, did I write that? Yeah, I did. Sorry, messages are coming in. Let's say I was all in paying around 28 to 30,000. I was left with like, let's say 14,000. Now with that 14,000, I had to stack it a little bit and I had to send money to my family, like to my mother, because I made sure that my mother's going to be taken care of. You know what I mean? That's very important. At the same time, I had to take care of some legal costs that needed to be taken care of. So realistically, I was just breaking even. Let's put it like that, But it's still pretty good for 8 months. You know what I mean? It's very doable. So for those out there that think that is not doable, think about this: 3,000 square foot space, right? I got 450 members. Could I fit more? 1,000%. I was aiming to go for 1,000. And I didn't even put a number on what I would cap out, because what I would do is I would implement more classes. And as I implemented more classes, oh yeah, and it just came to me. I actually acquired more space outside. So I actually asked the owner for an outdoor area where I created an outdoor ring. And I had to pay extra on top of that. I think it was another couple of grand. So I was up already $10,000. That's where that money went. Now I remember. It's been a minute now. Now, I'm gonna have a little pause break because I need some water, but I want you guys to just think about the fact that all of this is very doable, but it really comes back to the mindset and your planning and what you're really good at. Put down your pros and cons. I would love for you guys to really just think about it for the next couple of minutes. Write down your pros on one side and write down your personal pros and cons and write down your business pros and cons. And then when you look at it, I would like you to just really be honest with what you're writing down when it comes down to your cons, because a lot of people don't want to write down the honesty, and honesty is everything, because then you can fix the mistakes and you can move forward. Now, if you look at both sides, you're going to look at it and go, damn, all right, I actually have some really good pros, and the cons are really not that bad when you're honest about them, because those cons can all be fixed. Every con can turn from a negative to a positive, and if you eliminate those things, you're actually going to move faster with your growth and where you want to be. If you wrote down your pros and cons on your personal and your business, and then really outweigh the fact that all the cons that you have, start eliminating them off the list. Start from today. What can you attack and convert to a positive, and what can you eliminate that's no longer going to be there? Especially on your personal side, before the business. You need to take care of the personal before your business. You can't take care of the business if your personal is not taken care of. So that's very important, all right? So now, after talking about being pushed out, right, how much money was being made, 44,000, and now I got to figure out what to do. Now I'm walking on the streets of Miami, and I come across a location that is like abandoned, run down. It's got an old for lease sign with a number. And I was actually walking with Chris Harrier, and I go, damn, that shit would be crazy. He's like, bro, that's been there for 40 to 50 years. And it's still the same building. I don't know what the hell is in that place. And I had some piece artwork signage on there. But you know what? I look at things as, you know, every trash could be turned into treasure, right? And at that point in time, I looked at that as an opportunity. And I picked up my phone. Mind you, I don't have the money. Mind you, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna make a call and I'm gonna figure it out and I'm gonna ask about it. So I speak to the realtor on the phone and I'm like, hey, what's up with the space? Is it still for lease? And he goes, yeah, depends. What are you trying to do? I go, well, I currently have a gym, a boxing facility, and I'm looking to find a fit. But I'm not too sure. It just looks too big, right? And I see this gigantic thing, and I'm like, man, I start dreaming for a second. And I'm like, man, imagine this. So the guy decides to go, well, you want to have a look at it? I'm like, yeah. So one thing leads to another. He comes, he opens the doors. I walk in, and I see absolutely this place destroyed. It looks terrible. There's termites. There's rooms that are fucking broken. There's this maze. And then finally there's this door I open up and I walk into. And I go, and I look at the high ceilings and I see all these, you know, I go, what are these things? And it's just stacks and stacks and stacks of merchandise, right? The owner just used the place as storage for the last 25 to 30 years. And I go, man, this is crazy. I saw the vision of BOXR off rip. I go, this is the spot. I knew deep down. I had a gut feeling. So sometimes when you feel that is the point in time where if you get that gut feeling like this is it, then take it. Because your gut is always right, right? And that's very important to understand that. And when I saw that, I envisioned BOXR. I closed my eyes for a split second, right? And I opened my eyes and I saw the ring. I saw the truss. I saw Madison Square Garden when you walk through. I saw Caesar's Palace when you walk through, when you go into a fight night. I visualized the bags. The first thing was the boxing. I could turn this into the mega boxing facility of all time. But as I walked through, the guy goes, hey, there's more space on the other side. So we're walking through and all of a sudden, there's more space, there's more space, there's more space, there's endless space, there's an upstairs area space. I'm like, damn, even if I was to take this, like, what am I gonna do with it, right? And mind you, where am I gonna get the money from? But guess what? I dreamed for a little bit. And it's okay to dream. I know people say like, hey, you know, you're a dreamer. That's never gonna happen. But guess what? It's good to dream, because dreams actually put something there that was never there once before. And it's something that you can actually put faith into, you can nourish, you can believe, and find a way to make it happen. And guess what? Dreams do come true. It just depends upon your execution and how bad you want it and how faithful you are in the process of making it happen. And it puts you in a state of mind where you're like, this is very doable. This is very possible. Because if this guy could do it, then I could do it, right? And so when I walked out of there, I didn't get scared, not one bit. I didn't even think about the fact that it's not possible. I actually thought about the fact that I'm gonna make this possible. I'm gonna do or die to make this happen, because I have 450 members that depend on me. I have a brand that I've created. I put in all this fucking hard work here from 2020 all the way through 2021. And at the end of 2021, we're stuck. And I had 2 months to get the fuck out and figure it out, right? I started training fighters. Now, training fighters is a whole different aspect. And we're going to go back to how I raised the money, or how I got the money, and how I was able to transition into the main facility that is in the prime location of Miami, Miami's #1 location, where there is no gym that is in the space and in the location that I've got today, and how I got it. But I want to give you a little quick story on how this all unfolded to be where it is today. I was training fighters. I took the opportunity from going from a trainer to doing one-on-one sessions and classes to a coach. Now, what's the difference? A trainer is somebody that will teach an average person of what you've learned, because they're all at different levels. And a lot of them are beginners, or they're people that have learned it and you're just maintaining and you're giving them an experience that they want, but they're not taking it to an elite level. They're not elite on that side of things. But they do have hands and they do have an experience. And then you got your beginners, and you got to cater to, you know, those people, and you have to do an exchange. But the coach, this requires a different mindset. This requires the mindset of the mental aspect, the physical aspect. Now you have a responsibility to somebody that is actually getting in the ring and competing and fighting and putting their lives at risk, where you have to be capable and knowledgeable enough to be able to say, hey, these guys are in my hands now. And I have to teach them a certain way in order to keep them safe, in order to take them to a level that they've never gone to before. And I have to change my mindset from a trainer's perspective to the coach's perspective, because now these guys' lives are in my hands. Because guess what? This is a sport that you could die in, right? This is a sport that it's not a game. It's not a joke. It's not for anybody to just jump in and fight. So when you say you're a coach, remember one thing: your mindset has to switch. You have to be so sure and so positive that you're able to take people under your hands, knowing that at any given time, they could be hurt for the rest of their lives. They could be dead. They could die from being in there. You could destroy their entire well-being, knowing that they had a chance to become a world champ, or they could be at the highest level of their sport. But if you're not teaching them and coaching them the right methods of what you've learned, and put time into your own mindset and coaching experience, then you're letting fighters down. And I want to emphasize on that first, because before going into the coach's mindset and coaching fighters, you got to be ready. Not anyone can just coach pros. Not anyone could just go through that process of being in the corner and training someone just because you want to have the title of having the coach's title. It doesn't work like that. But I decided to take the mindset of, like, you know what? I've got a great guy on my side, which is Jason Wilson. As one of my first coaches that I brought on. He's had 35 years of boxing experience, coached Ryan Garcia, coached Benavidez, coached all of them. And with him along my side, I learned a lot from him. And that was able to help me to be able to be so confident enough to be able to take what I learned from my 22 years of experience alongside another great coach that's done it longer than me. And I was able to train 5 BKFC fighters for one big fight night when BKFC originated here at the Hard Rock Casino. And out of those 5 fighters, 4 knockouts out of the 5 wins, and 2 world champions. That was my first time ever creating world champions in one night. Mind you, I've never tapped into the sport of coaching, but guess what it did for me? It made me so confident enough that I changed their lives. I created world champions. I got 4 knockouts, and I was able to get every fighter to listen to me, and it paid off. And you know how that made me feel? That made me feel like I knew what I'm doing now. They gave me so much confidence and validation in the industry, in the combat sports industry, that I just transferred and went from a student to a trainer to now a coach, taking 5 fighters in 5 weeks and getting them all wins where nobody knew who I was and nobody knew my brand like that. But then now everybody knows who I am, right? And so with all that information being said, and opening that window of opportunity, if I didn't take this leap of faith and opportunity and inform myself on how to be a good coach and put time and energy and still run a business and still do classes and still recruit some of the coaches to replace all that. Think about that. With all that shit going on, I went to being a coach, even though I'm being kicked out of my gym. But in that meantime, I had somebody come and offer something to me and go, what is your plan with BOXR? Right? My question was, I have no idea. That's the honest truth. I don't know what to do. But all I know is I found a building, right? And that gentleman right there goes, I've seen what you've created and I've seen what you built. What do you want to do with it? So I laid out the truth. And you know what? The truth will set you free. And I did. I laid out the truth. I said, I got a couple of months to get out. I asked for a little bit of extension so I could figure it out. And I said, look, I found a space and I need to move out. And I really want to build, I want to be able to move to the baddest location. And he said, okay, well, show me it. So I showed him. And my thing was this. It wasn't about raising just the capital. It was about my reputation now and my life and everything that I've created with 450 members and five fighters that just won. And now my name is mainstream inside the combat sports industry. I go back to the beginning. Pay me what my values worth. And I still stuck to that. And what I mean by that is this. Whatever you're going to invest into what I'm about to do next, and I have no idea about business like that, on that high level, you're not investing into the business. You're investing into me. You know why? Because I carry the throne. I'm the founder, which means I have now a responsibility to an investor, right? Their money is not in the equipment or the setup. Their money is invested into my vision because they believe in me. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly what he gave me. He gave me, I'm not going to give you the exact amount, but it was just shy under $1 million. Now, to get $1 million is not something that everybody could talk about every day and or even see it. But you know what? He was so good to me, even though it didn't work out. And even though I was able to pay him out and make sure that he got his money back, because you know why? I make sure I do the right thing by people and I stick to my word on things, and we do things correct, right? And ever since the beginning, when I started in the parking lots, I always did it. That money was paid back. The deal didn't make sense, and you're gonna come across times where deals are not gonna make sense, but you always find a way to make it work. Now, that $1 million went into my vision on how I foresaw how the brand was gonna operate, because from the very first day I saw how this was gonna look is how it looks today. Nothing changed. And I implemented every cent into the business to make it what it is today. Now, to build a gym of that magnitude, it usually costs $3 to $5 million. But you know what I did? I used all my resources and my network and relationships at that time to be able to create the baddest gym on the fucking planet, right? And by doing that, it takes time. It could take a lot of time. And now this goes back to like, how in the, sorry, excuse my French, but how the fuck did this guy pull off opening? He closed in the end of 2021 where I had to get out. And it shows here April 2022. How was that pulled off? You got to get equipment. It takes time, right? Number one. You got to get the workers. Number two, you still got to run and take care of the business to make money coming in, because the money that I just got from here is going into a new facility. And then what? I got to shut down for another year? How are you supposed to make this happen? I'm going to show you. Day in and day out, didn't fucking sleep. Check this out. 3 months. I opened it up. And the bathrooms weren't even fucking complete. I had people using portable toilets on the outside, but I did whatever it took to open those doors. Why? Because people were just itching. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm not gonna let people down. I'm not gonna have my gym shut. I'm gonna transition it. It's a crazy move to do, but I'm gonna make it work. And I did. And I opened it as I was out towards the end of 2021. There was only a couple of months, and within that time frame, I opened it up. And what did I do? I put a boxing section. There was no MMA. I had a few treadmills. I had some equipment. And this is my first time actually doing a full-fledged facility where now I'm deep in the gym game, in the health club scene now. I'm not a little boxing studio anymore. So 8 months into it, I'm just a little boxing gym where I'm thinking I'm just gonna do boxing. But then the space becomes so big that I dream even more. So I go, well, nah, I'm not gonna tap in on just the boxing side of things. That's cool and everything, and I love it. But hey, now it's time to become a businessman, right? The businessman mindset. And this is where I become from a coach to a businessman. Your man just raised nearly $1 million. He just got a huge facility, right? He just built it out. And bro, I put the whip on my brother Samir, who was putting it together for me, and the whip on his workers. I said, bro, do or die, we got to make this shit happen. Nobody's ever built a gym in 3 months. And we did it. And we did it still with dust inside. And guess what? The first person to ever step foot in there, and he didn't even step foot, he pulled up in his Benzes and Maybachs. I opened the garage doors, and I think Daniel still got the clipping, and I'd love to share it with you guys. He pulled in, he drove in, and I had a mural that was done for him. Floyd Money Mayweather was the first person to bless the boxing rings at BOXR with the sheets on it. And he came when there was dust and there was a few bags, and I had a mural of him and I unveiled it to him because that's my brother. We've had a good relationship ever since the old facility back in the studio. And he came in, jumped in and said, bro, this is the best gym in the world. When I knew that he blessed that gym, that was the day I knew that this thing's gonna skyrocket. For me to have Floyd Money Mayweather coming to my gym after all the fucking hard work, that was a sign, right? So now I become the businessman. At the same time, I'm still acting as a trainer, a coach, right? And I still represent these things, but I've just elevated now, right? Because now I'm forced in a position to understand business. I have to force myself to understand the importance of running a business now. It's not a little boxing gym. It's not a little studio. I'm not doing one-on-one sessions, and I'm not just running classes. I have a business that needs to pay the bills. And we're talking about rent that's very, very high, right? We're talking about rent that's like, you know, you're making $44,000 in a studio. All the money's just gone into building out a badass gym, and it's still not enough. And rent is probably around $50 to $60K and increasing. And that's not including your bills. That's not including electricity. This is not including a team, payroll, nothing. That's just the rent, right? Now, at that time, I worked out a great deal, but then it always increased, right? Which is fine, which means your man has to do pre-sales. But the beauty about doing stuff at a fast pace, it gives you a sense of urgency. And I want you guys to write that down because I teach this to my team a lot. Urgency is everything. And the reason why I say that is because we don't have time to waste. It's very precious, it's very delicate, and it can be your worst demon. right? And it can go up against you and it can fucking hit you so hard that you're gonna lose and you're gonna come back and it's too late and you're losing time, right? So make sure that you write this down and you make this an important thing with you and your team. Sense of urgency is everything on the clock. Now, when we did that, we had no choice but to do pre-sales. Pre-sales, bang, bang, bang. When we opened the doors, people were walking in. I had all the lights and everything. Bro, they had never seen anything like it inside their lives. They never seen a gym that had, and correct me if I'm right or wrong, back in that time, in 2022, was anyone doing marble floors inside their gyms? Nobody. Nobody was doing epoxy. I had epoxy throughout the whole gym. So when people walked in, they felt like that they were walking on glass, like a glass mural on the floor. I made it so bougie, but at the same time, so rugged and so unique that nobody was doing it. I even had the concept of doing some crazy shit on putting a sports car that was floating from the ceiling, but obviously the city wouldn't allow it. But I still kept the theme and the concept, right? And I stuck to everything that I was gonna do. I did not go off course. I did not divert. I did not go, damn, this is too much work. I did not sit back and go, well, no, this is not gonna happen. No, bro, I had no choice but to make it happen. Why? Because my neck is on the fucking line. And I had a responsibility to my 450 members. Now, for me to cover the bills of 50 to 60 to 70,000, what do I gotta do? I got to get another 400 or 500 members very quickly in less than 8 months, because what I did was I negotiated to get 8 months abatement and free rent. Now, in that 8 months, what did I do? I bent the rules and opened the shit in 3, which means what am I left with? I'm left with 5. Now, in that 5-month period, what could I do if I'm in the doors? I can pre-sale. Right? What else can I do? I utilize my relationships to bring in some big names that I already acquired. And some of those names, I don't mind even speaking about them because you guys probably know who these guys are. And I'm very proud to call them friends up to today because I've kept the best relationships with them. One of them is called Steve Stout. You know what he does? He's the owner of United Masters. Now, you can go online right now and check out his net worth. Worth a fortune, this man. Now, did I know that he did that? No. As I progressed the relationship, he opened up to me. And guess what? He was the one that put Mobb Deep on the map. He was the one that put Nas on the map. He was the one... Bro, let's keep going. All right, one of my other clients, DJ Swearinger. This was one of the best safeties in the NFL for the Patriots. He was one of my first clients that came to me that never boxed in his life, never knew how to throw punches, and I actually taught him the fundamentals of boxing at the studio. Let's go through it. We got Deebo Samuel, one of the biggest. If you're a football fan, you already know he's from the 49ers. That was one of my first clients. I also had race car drivers, Devlin DeFrancesco that raced in IndyCar. I got to train an IndyCar driver and get him to win his race. I got him to win his car races in IndyCar, and we found that boxing actually increased his performance in his timing and precision on the track when he would take turns. So I stepped into a space where, you know what, I could actually help these guys perform in the off season with boxing. And that's me stepping outside the box and getting creative, right? So those are just a few names. I also had a guy who was a developer from Venezuela that was one of my clients, and he just loved boxing and created a dope relationship. All these guys still come to the gym today. Now, I brought those guys alongside with pre-sales in those 5 months. With doing content with those guys, it attracted more people to come in the doors. And then people were like, damn, this gym is unique. You know why? Because I didn't copy everyone. I did exactly what I felt. I did exactly what I'm passionate about. I did exactly what I wanted to do. And you know what? I wanted to win. And I wanted to let people know that it's okay to be free. It's okay to be who you are. And I expressed everything on how I felt through the walls of my gym. That's exactly what I did. And that's why people, they go in there and they feel the vibe. You know why they feel the vibe? Because it expressed what type of person I am. And that's why they're so attracted to it. And you could do the same thing. it's just a matter of tapping into you. Take care of your personal before you take care of the business. And guess what? You'll be able to be shocked to see what you could really create and what you could implement into what you're building. And through that, I built my vision to life. And people I could share it with and they could be a part of it. Guess what? I was never able to do that back from where I'm from in Australia. I could never be who I am today because I was always restricted. Where we grow up, we're not able to be who we are. We're restricted. And I found a place where I could have freedom in what I wanted to build and create and be who I wanted to be. And that's why I'm able to do this and share this with you guys, which I'm really honored to do. And it's just crazy because after that 5 months, guess what your man hit? 100,000, right? In order to get 100,000, how many members do I need at $99? 1,000 members. I was also incorporating an initiation fee of $50. So I was charging first, last, initiation. But my theory was this, you know what? I'm gonna make it so good and so sweet for everybody that I'm gonna cut off the last month. At some times when I did promos, I would do a promo and I'll be like, you know what? If you get in today, I'll cut off the last month or I'll shave off the initiation fee. And I'll grandfather you in and honor that $99 for life. And guess what? I have members till today that I've kept that pay $99, which means obviously I got to work harder at it. But you know what they did, bro, for me? This is what they did. And this is what you guys forget. Forever support BOXR. That means they pay and buy merch. Bring people, fans to every event. So what happens is those people that were there at the beginning, they pay for every type of merch. They pay for one-on-one sessions. They're there loyal to the brand day in, day out. And I'm happy that I was able to do that because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to pay for the bills that we were able to pay and we wouldn't be where we are today. So I put a big shout out to all my original OG members that were there with me from the very beginning, and I've nurtured them to take care of them ever since. And I never go back on my word on that. So that's through the foundation of that. I give a lot of flowers to my original members, and you guys have got to remember your original members are the ones that you need to take care of and nourish and make sure that they're taken care of from day one all the way up to today. You can always funnel and bring in new people, but those people are the ones that believed in you from the very beginning. And I got to make that very, very clear. So remember, OG members are key. They're the ones that will always push your brand. They will be the ones that will do the marketing for you. They'll be the ones that will go out there and spread the word for you. So you cannot change on that. Now, throughout the facility, we're here. We're charging $99. I still kept it at that rate. But over the time frame of the first 1,000, I bumped it up and I went up to $129. And I went from $129 after 6 months of seeing the success. We bumped it up to $149. We went from $149 to $169. We went from $169 to $189. I didn't do a huge jump. I just did enough to show that the value is continuously increasing. And why is the value increasing? Is because I'm re-putting money back into the business. I'm reinvesting, right? I'm not collecting the money at this time. There's no profits being made. So this is where it goes back to like, all right, well, reinvest. Now, I know a lot of you guys will reinvest into your business and back into it, but are you reinvesting strategically back into the business? Where is it most important that you reinvest, right? So it's like, we go back to the drawing board, pros and cons to the business. Forget the personal now. We worked on the personal, but the pros and cons to the business, we have to write down all the strategic aspects of like, okay, what are we lacking here in the cons? And the cons may be like, all right, well, I'm looking at my gym space. Damn, we're just doing boxing. Well, let's talk to a few companies for gym equipment. Why? because there's a lot of people in the city that just want to come in and train, not just do classes. So we have the space to do it. We have a large space to do it. But you know what? I want to get more creative with it. How about this? Through my relationships, think about your relationships that you have, because maybe in those key relationships that you have, it may spark something that you may have that nobody else has, which what I did was something very insane that no one did. Was I got one of 3 car simulators, best in the world for race car drivers, right? Nobody thought of this. And I put this thing in and it's worth a fortune. You don't want to know how I got it in there, but maybe one day I'll share it with you guys. But this thing here was something that no gym had on the planet. And I had Izzy Adesanya jump in that thing. People loved it. I incorporated it into the membership. Now, it was a good gig, but was it really good for my blueprint? Yes and no, but was it really making the difference? It did for the first 6 months, but then after a while, it was taking up space. Now, you got to think about your space. If something is taking up space and is not making you money, then take it out, think about it, recalculate, and put something in there that's going to be very valuable, that's going to bring in money. But it's not just that, it's like what people want. You got to give what people want. It's not what you want. I like this, but is that what people wanted? Not really. But did people like it? Of course they did. They found it to be cool. But this is all part of learning, right? So I didn't really reinvest into that. I actually spoke to a friend of mine, and he made money from it, and the gym made a little bit of money, but it wasn't moving the needle. The key is we got to move the needle, right? It's very important. Now, let's reinvest into the gym. All right, we got a dead space upstairs. Let's create an MMA program because people love MMA. Let's cater to the women and let's put a yoga section. But you know what was one of my favorite things I wanted to do? Was create a barbershop. I wanted to create a space and an area space where I could put a barbershop and people could come. The guys could come, they could train, they could eat, they could get a haircut. And it's a one-stop shop for everybody. And when I created that, nobody at that time was doing it. Everyone just had gyms with gym equipment. So I could say that, look, very honestly and comfortably out there, and I'm confident about it, I set the trend, right? I set the trend. Because I thought outside the box, I got creative. I already had a blueprint that nobody was doing, and I just reignited something that the gym industry needed, right? It was boring. I made it cool. I made it fun. I made it something where when people walk in, they go, damn, this shit is crazy. This is a vibe. I gotta be a part of this shit. The music is bumping. I feel like I'm in a club, but there's a Lambo there. There's boxing. Bro, I have choice, all right? So one of the key factors is this, and I'll go back to trend, but write this down. Choice. Having the choice to be able to pick whatever you want to do in training. You might get bored one day of just hitting the weights, but you find boxing to be very therapeutic for mental and physical and challenging. And then maybe one day you want to do MMA because you're a woman and you want to learn self-defense, because you never know at any given time. It's crazy out in this world, especially in Miami. So I think about what people want, not what I want to give. And that's the problem. Everyone wants to do what they want to give, but it's not what people want. So think about the choices that you're actually giving to your members or to your clients. That's a very key component. Write that down. Now, the next thing is going back to the trend. Now, did I think about planning this shit? No, I didn't. I didn't plan it. It just came to mind. Why? Because I kept being very observative to what members like and to what I could do that was very creative in the space. So why build something and just be like, okay, it's done? Bro, that shit is boring. Like, why would you do that? Just to plateau and facilitate, your members and to cap out? Nah, bro, like, that's not how it should work. You should have a high vision of going, well, I want this facility to cater to these people, and I want to implement these things, but obviously you need money to make it happen. But strategically plan it out, First 6 months, boom, we're going to do this, boxing. Next 6 months, 1 year, have a plan. Put some growth into that shit. Don't just cap it out and go, all right, well, hey, I'm gonna stop here and just, nah, bro. Like that shouldn't be the goal. If you're in this to win it and you want it to be successful, you have to keep planning and keep reinvesting, but get creative with your space. Now, if you're not a creative person, there's technology these days that can help you with this shit. ChatGPT could tell you. But in the end of the day, did I learn from ChatGPT? No. Did anyone mentor me? No. Did I learn this by myself? 1000%. This is a life learning experience. All this shit here was self-acquired through experience, through hardships, through all the shit that I went through, and I turned every single negative into a positive, and that's why I'm able to teach you guys and let you guys know how this actually fulfilled and worked. Now, we are up to 100 to 150,000 a month. It's growing. 1,000, 1,200 members, 1,500 members, 2,000 members. We hit 2,000 members. I'm standing outside my gym at the front door. And I'm like, damn, there's another gym across the road, CrossFit. I don't know nothing about CrossFit. And I see people running around the block. So I walk over, I look inside. It's run down. The place looks bad. It looks sad. People are coming over and signing up to the gym because it just doesn't look right. So I decided to one day go over. I introduced myself to the owner. The owner looks tired of it. So I start learning about understanding people's body language. As you're learning about your members and people through that, now we're going on to 1.5 to 2 years. The beauty about this business is, if you haven't picked it up, is you get to understand and analyze people and their characteristics and how they move, and you start to like, wow, I can understand people now. And if you haven't to today, then I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're not spending enough time in your gym and understanding how it all operates and moves and how your people cycle. But you know what? I learned so much through all these people that I can understand people's body language. I can interview within 2 minutes, and I can understand whether I'm with the right person in the room or the wrong person in the room. And if I'm in with the wrong person in the room, I'm cutting the conversation quick. But you know what? That will help me survive, not just in business, but in an everyday life experience, right? So I'm gonna take that shit to the grave with me, learning that experience with people. So I go over, I talk to the CrossFit gym. I ask this guy, hey bro, so what's your plan? Like, what's your long-term plan with CrossFit? This guy, I already knew he's tired. He's tired just from body language. Oh man, I don't know, if somebody came with the right sort of money, I would consider it. I was like, all right, no worries. What number are you talking about? He throws a number. You know what I do? I come back a week later. I find a way to get the money. And I dig through holes. And guess what? My credit is trash, because I only been in the country for not too long of a period of time. So I'm building my name and my credit and everything. We're paying all the bills. We're reinvesting. And as we're reinvesting, I have also, loan payments and certain things I gotta get paid off. So I'm putting myself at risk again by acquiring another gym. But why am I acquiring another gym for when I already got like a badass gym? Well, I look at the long-term effect. If I want to hit 5,000, 6,000 members, then I need more space. And the opportunities only come once. And so when this guy told me that if there was an opportunity to get out, he would get out. That means there's an opportunity to negotiate on a deal that I could get it at a cheap rate at that time, but we don't have the money. But I'm gonna figure out how to get the money, because I know how important this is in the next 2 to 3 years. I'm not thinking about now, I'm thinking about in 3 years. Because now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna add something that I never had into my business blueprint, which is CrossFit. And is CrossFit a big thing? 100%. It's a worldwide thing that people, it's like a religion. So why wouldn't I add a CrossFit facility to my arsenal of what I have already? I'm gonna add it. And you know what? I'm gonna take the members with me too. Because you know what he had? He had 300 members. That 300 members can add to my list again on recurring avenue. They're already paying $169 just for CrossFit. So imagine, I'm gonna get them over, transition them over to BOXR. They pay cheaper, but they get everything. They get the main facility, they get the boxing classes, they have an open gym, they can still do their CrossFit at this rate, and I'm gonna grandfather them in. It's a no-brainer, right? So it really just came down to numbers, right? And what the offer is going to be. Now, the beautiful thing about this, and it was a win-win situation, is that I don't have to do a new lease because the guy who owns the property owns my property. So I amend it to the one lease now. And so what happens is I speak to the owner and he doesn't care as long as the bills are getting paid. So what do? I go and offer the CrossFit owner money. I give him a check. I don't even tell him I'm going in. I just go, bro, I want to catch up with you. He's like, all right, no worries. I go, bro, I got a check for you right here. Boom. I acquired the business from the top of my head for like 250K with all the equipment, liabilities, members, and there's already a recurring draft, which means money is already coming in, right? Now, to a lot of people, that's a lot of money. And then I'm putting myself at risk with all the liabilities and dealing with the headaches and all this shit. But I look at and I see opportunity. I see a place that's run down, that's got good members. They got good members, loyal members. They have a great space. It's 15,000 square feet in space. 15,000. And there's an upstairs area. So I envision it. I'm gonna upgrade the barbershop on the second level. I'm gonna turn that into the baddest barbershop. I'm gonna make a man cave so people can play pool and hang out and relax. I'm gonna put a little budget together that is not gonna cost a lot of money, but I'm gonna change the vibe and I'm gonna match the vibe from CrossFit to BOXR across the road. And I'm gonna do this and turn it around with my boy Samir in 2 weeks. You don't believe me? Go check the videos on YouTube. 2 weeks. I demolished everything in there and I retransformed that space, renovated it in 2 weeks, went crazy, and we turned it into the BOXR CrossFit that it is today and applied the same vibe and same tools. So that made me feel like, damn, if I could do that in here, I could do it anywhere, right? 2 weeks, converted everything over. A check came into play, the risk has been taken. All right, I'm already deep in the pool, but I'm not gonna drown, because I know how to swim. If I've got this far in and I'm making shit work, then I'm gonna just catch the wave and just ride with it. But I'm gonna stay focused. I'm not gonna fall off the board. I'm not gonna fall off the surfboard. I'm gonna make sure I keep going, right? So at that time, I just acquired 300 members, but guess what I did? From that whole transitioning happening, more people came. More people were intrigued. More CrossFitters came. So I targeted now the CrossFit industry, the bodybuilding industry, the MMA industry, the boxing industry. And now we have a barbershop where you got people that now there's another revenue stream being created, which is the barbershop. And that barbershop was bringing in money. So that was added to the pool of money that was being generated, right? But then it gave a service. Now I gave a service to the people where now everybody has a choice. You have CrossFit, you got boxing, you got MMA, you got Pilates, you got bodybuilding, right? And now I see the full scope and now I go, damn, nobody's got this shit. I laid a fundamental blueprint that's setting the trend. And now what do I see? Everybody's doing it. And you know what? I don't take it as something that's bad. I'm flattered because now I set the trend and everybody's doing it. And I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. I feel honored. You know why? Because it's very important to know that in this industry, if we all work in conjunction together to make it a better place for people, a lot of people are going through so much shit these days. And some of the stories that I've come across have been mind-blowing. I've had people that wanted to commit suicide. I've had people that have had breakups, that lost everything. Homeless people that had families and everything one day, and then their lives turned around by me giving them a membership at BOXR, and I've helped them. So we're in the business of really changing people's lives mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I've covered all aspects, from taking care of our law enforcement, our agencies, the community, the POW program, the kids that are on the streets. We got amateur fighters that are champions right now, professional fighters, women, everyone that you could possibly think of in every part of, the world, I've covered. Why? Because it goes back to the fundamentals of this. Passion, culture, right? Unity. Everyone that walks in that gym represents this. Those are my members, and I'm proud to say that I have amazing members, and they love the gym. It's not about just going to a gym and saying, yeah, I rocked up to the gym, did my workout, and I left. No. Let me tell you something. These are diehard members. Why? Because I put in the work myself as the owner and as CEO and founder of the gym and of the brand. I put in the work every single day still to today, because I have to maintain that consistency. I have to maintain that level, right? Now, going back again, we're getting so busy because of this and this, right? The main facility and the CrossFit facility, that we're running out of space for parking. I have an issue on my hands. It's a good issue, but it's not a good issue, because now you have all new members coming in and they don't know where to park in Miami downtown. It is wild right now. You have lineups out the door, people getting memberships, but they're like also canceling. Now, what do you do when people are canceling their memberships? Well, you got to have a good customer service team. That customer service team has to find incentives to keep your members, because retention in this game is key and is everything. So I want you guys to write retention down. Now, with retention, I know a lot of gyms, they can't seem to retain it. But you know why? That's because you're not adding more value to the gym. You're not providing more value. You're still on the same cycle, which you're doing the same classes, or you got the same thing going on. People get bored. People want to change. And guess what? Other gyms start popping up, and then you're in competition. How do you keep the float up and you can keep your members happy, right? Giveaways, challenges, engagement, new equipment, reinvest, analyze your team. All right, the list can keep going on. You know, like with these types of things here, people forget. But this is where I go back to the innovative and creative side. If you're the owner and founder of your company, you have to take the time out to get creative. But it's got to be realistic creativity. You can't just like be like, all right, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to bring a spaceship and just put it in. Like you could, but it's like, don't make it impossible. Make it possible. Make it something that, all right, if I was the member of the gym, which I do, I put myself as a member every single day before I start work. And what I mean by that is, as CEO, this is my title. But this is also my title, right? But you know what I do first? This comes first. The member. I put myself as the member. And then you know what happens second? I go as CEO. That's how it should operate. The reason why I say that is because you got to get out of the mindset of being a CEO, because when you're thinking like a CEO, you forget how to think like a member, right? And when you think like a member, you forget about being a CEO. And that's the whole purpose of this, is because when you want to walk in as a member, you're going to analyze the situation completely different to the CEO side. You're going to go, well, if I'm a paying member and I walk in, I want to be greeted a certain way. But my team isn't greeting me a certain way. So you know what I do? I put all that information, I put it on the CEO side, because I'm going to keep that for later. But right now we're focused as a member. I want a drink, but I'm waiting at the desk and nobody's getting me a drink. So this is the best way to analyze your business and understand how it's fully working and how it operates. Now, as we're processing all this, I'm going to get a workout in. You know what I do? I work out every day at the beginning of my day. I don't even start work. Sometimes I go back to CEO mode and I can't focus on training, but I have to. I have to put myself in a member's position, and I got to train, and I got to see how the people are reacting, and I got to engage with them. I can't just open up a gym, let it run, but I'm not involved in the gym on a daily basis, and I'm not putting myself as a member first. No, I put myself as the member first. And then at the end of the workout, I put my CEO cap on and I change my split personality. And I go from member to CEO. And guess what? Mr. Mateo is the head charge. And I got to go into action, right? And this is where I start coming down on my team, and I start coming down the gym, and I'll be like, hey, why aren't you greeting these people like this? What's wrong with you today? You got an attitude problem. If that's the case, go home. Get yourself together. But I will not have people treating the business like that, because as a member at the beginning, I don't want these people feeling like this, because I have a responsibility to my people. And if I was one of them, I wouldn't want to feel like that. So remember, put that down. If you are a CEO of the company, if you're a general manager of the company, if you are a trainer of the company, always put yourself first when you walk in every day as the member, to understand exactly what the hell is going on in their minds. Because then you can understand and analyze what you need to fix. If you don't, then how are you going to know, right? Now, I learned this as I started to acquire more space and more responsibility, because it started to get really tough and really hard and really heavy. But it helped me through all this to understand who's worth having on the team, what do I need to readjust, what do I need to fix, what do I need to move, how members are going. And guess what? I don't even need to ask my team how things are going. I actually ask the members how's things going, and I get their feedback on classes, on their experience, on everything else, without my team even knowing, because then that tells me if they're doing their job. So there's some gems right there for you guys to process and write down, but that's what will help you. Now, back to the parking. I had to renegotiate because there was an open space in the back. After I cried CrossFit, I did a deal with the owner, because I said to him, hey, I need more parking spaces. And guess what? This costs more money. This costs another $18,000 a month just for parking, right? Nearly 20 grand. And now we're up to, like, with all the, fees and stuff now, and over these years, I pay like close to 25,000 a month just for parking. Now, that gave me an extra 40 spaces. Is that worth it? Yes. Now, with all the members that we got coming in at that time, you got like 2,000 to 2,500 members. With 2,000 to 2,500 members, and with, like, let's say 50 to 60 parking spaces, and then creating a deal next door where I have valet parking as well, because I know the owner's next door, you're probably thinking, like, how the hell could you hold 2,000 to 2,500 members in the space that you have? Plus you got parking that's only for 60 people. How does that work? Now let's do this. I'm open from 5:30 a.m. all the way to midnight, right? 2,000 to 2,500 members are not coming in all at the same time. Remember that. Everybody's coming in at different times, and it's widespread throughout the day. And this is where I have classes running. I have an open gym running. You got people that work at different hours in the morning to the midday to the evening to this time to that time. So realistically, with the square footage that I do have, which is 45,000 to close, well, at that time, no, we got 40,000. I'm not thinking about numbers and capping out. I'm thinking about, well, no, obviously I need space, but we're good at this point because I got everything else. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at the space and I'm recalculating everything correctly, right? So here we go. We do the parking. It's part of the deal. Now, over a certain period of time, you have this exclusive. This business was a doghouse. All right, it's funny. A lot of our members, I actually created a good relationship with the owner of Doghouse because a lot of the members had dogs and they dropped them off to the doghouse so they could take care of them, and then they would go train. Now, throughout that period in time, we're talking about 2024, the owner was not doing too well. And it happens. You know, this is not an easy business to like handle in Miami, but what happens is through that time frame, the owner said, hey, I'm going to have to move and get out. I don't know what to do, this and that. So we had a conversation and I said, look, bing, there's opportunity. And I go, well, damn, I got to think about the next 2 to 3 years. We're in 2024. You know, we're getting bigger. We're at 3,000 members at this point. Now with 3,000 members and still growing, and there's another opportunity next door, well, this is owned by the landlord as well, the same one. And this guy, he can't afford to pay the rent anymore. So you know what I do? I give him a deal that he can't refuse. Now, I ain't going to buy the business because At this point in time, what's the point of buying a dog business when that's got nothing to do with my business? But what I could do is, he's locked into a lease that he can't afford to pay the rent anymore. And guess what? The owner's gonna take him to court, and that becomes a bigger headache. So I do a win-win situation for all three people. You check this out, including myself. This guy gets out, right? Doghouse, I save his ass because I take over the lease, right? And I take his liability. The landlord has a tenant now that he knows that can pay the rent because I'm his biggest tenant on the list, which I pay the most amount of money. Now at this point, I'm paying the rent for the main facility, I'm paying the rent for the CrossFit facility, and now I'm paying the parking lot. Create your imagination. You remember at the beginning how much I was paying? Imagine how much I'm paying now with all three. But now I've got 3,000 members, and now I'm about to acquire another piece of property. Now this guy is stressing. The landlord is stressing because he wants to take him to court. But guess what? Mr. Mateo here is actually doing pretty well with his business, that he's like, you know what? I'm going to see some more value that I can provide to my clients and to my brand and business. And I could save both of these guys a fucking headache, which means this guy can leave out of his business clean, and this guy here just got a tenant that's reliable that can pay the rent there without having to go to court and deal with all the fucking bullshit. So Mr. Mateo comes in and takes the lease. I negotiate a rate that makes sense, and I get a payment for like 3 to 4 months so I can build it out. Now, what is Mr. Mateo gonna do with that lease now and that space? Well, the vision was this. I have some of the biggest pros in the world that come to my facility, but they want a space that they could train away from the general public. And then at the same time, I have a lot of high-level clientele base. So why not create a space that mends and matches and marriages well with the current situation? BOXR Exclusive was born. Now we have a different tier, $399. Why? Because now you have 24-hour access, you have unlimited drinks, you have unlimited coffee, you have a space where you can come in at any time, you can get one-on-one training without anyone noticing you, you can be bougie about whatever situation and film yourself and do all the recording. I put the best lighting in there, I put the best equipment in there, I put the best boxing equipment. Each bag is worth about $4,000 to $5,000. So I did invest money, but at the same time I didn't. Now the way I did it was like this. Part of my growth, right, in all of this is one thing. And I spoke about it at the very beginning. What do you think it is? What is one of the most important things that got me where I am today, that I worked so hard on and I nurtured from the very beginning at the parking lots with my clients? What would that be? Relationships, my network, right? And through that network, I had contacts to equipment suppliers. My brand right now, BOXR, is spoken globally at that point. BOXR is a global brand. BOXR is known to be one of the best facilities, as ranked as the top 5 in the United States of America, ranking as #1 in Miami, and outdoing the first facility of where I built my studio. That was the #1 facility that was ranking with 1,500 to 1,900 members. Right now I'm at 3,500. I'm doubling numbers of what the big boys are doing. Places like LA Fitness and stuff, I wash them out completely. And people are paying anywhere from $29 to $59 a month at some of these corporate gyms. Brother, I'm charging $200 a month at my main facility for unlimited classes and all access. I'm charging $399 at my exclusive facility. I'm charging tiers, and I'm getting different revenue streams, from the barbershop to one-on-one sessions to doing a car wash to doing multiple different things that was never in my mind back then. Now I have a mega house that is just, it's a monster eating away, right? So the network was able to help me with this, where I do what? What am I doing? It costs money, but relationships that are built correctly lead to what? Think about it. What does it lead to? Brand deals. Why? Because the reputation holds weight. The brand holds weight. This thing holds weight. It's legitimate. It's real. It's relatable because they could speak to the man in charge, because I've created that sense of relatable, communication and connection there. I'm not somebody that built it, left it, and went and was like, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. No, like, yeah, I have a team that deals with the brands, but then when it comes to the final stages, I give the green light and they can relate to me because they know I put in hard work and I created so much power into this brand that there's a face to it that they can trust. That's me. They trust me. And that all led back to the very beginning here with my clients. They trust me. The guy that gave me the money trusts me. Everything that I did was through core values that people actually trust me. So they trust the brand, they trust my people, they trust what they're gonna do. And guess what? I end up facilitating a facility through brand deals. I end up bringing more money into the gym. I end up doing a deal with Celsius to cater to our athletes and to our people, to be able to bring in equipment and money and events and you name it, and the list can go on. Today, we're obviously talking about, how this all got to where it is today. But this is the complete breakdown of how this all worked. Now, main facility, CrossFit, exclusive, barbershop, soccer field, wellness center, one-on-ones. Is there anything I missed off this? I might be missing a tattoo shop. That's what I wanted to actually put in, but at this point, it's not something I want to do right now, but we have everything you could think of. I've shut down the whole list. Now, is this capping? Eventually it will. Right now, it's not going to cap. Why? Because I continue to create something that once was never there, that will be there. And I've set this trend from the very beginning. So for those that are starting from the very beginning, it's very important the way you start and the way you begin and how your foundation is laid out. A lot of gyms, they set it up, they set the trend, they do their equipment, they put it in, they build it, and then they lay off. But guess what? It's too late because it's already been built. It's already been created. So how you begin is the most important key factor of how you're gonna set the spark, light it up and go, because once it ends, that's it, it's over. I have continued to keep up the way I built my company from day one up to today, and I can still keep adding. Why? Because I'm on that trend. I set that from the very beginning. That's part of my blueprint. I can put whatever the hell I want. You know what I could do? I could put a car dealership connected to my gym. Why? Because I got a car in there and I set the trend from the beginning with a vehicle inside of a gym. There was no gym on the planet that put a Lamborghini in there. So if I want to, I could put that there. You know what else I could put? I could put a residential tower if I want, because I created a lifestyle. I created a niche that nobody else tapped in on. But I'm the one that was willing to do it. I was the one that fed myself all this information in order to create it. And I have an honest vision on what I'm doing. You could copy and do whatever I'm doing, but doesn't mean it's gonna work. Each and every individual is special. You're special, but you gotta create your own lane. You gotta create your path on how you're gonna do it. And you make it special for yourself and for your people. Yes, you can take bits and pieces here and there, add it to your arsenal. And I say that about my fighters all the time. Each fighter walks different. Each fighter throws different. Each fighter has a different style. I cannot change him to be like me, but I can give him tools that can help him develop an unlimited, unbeatable style. So I hope you guys enjoyed this session of learning all the ins and outs on how I started to where I am today. And if there's anything that I may have missed, well, you're more than happy to, send some questions over. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But this is a good start for you guys to understand, all the different things that I had to do in order to be where I am today. But don't forget this, your value system, your belief system, and adding your pros and cons and working on these things every day as an individual is going to help you get into the direction of where your business needs to go. If you don't take care of that, you're not going to grow. You're not going to go through that that threshold of being on this level, right? And in saying that, there is no limit to what you can accomplish, right? There's no cap. I'm gonna say that again. There is no cap to how many members you can have. You can't refuse point of entry. That means it's a good sign. It means you gotta get creative in your space and make more space, or find another location and then figure it out. Most people just go, nah, can't do it. No, bro, like that's a good problem to have. Man, I'm gonna call it a night. It's been crazy. I'm very happy and grateful that I'm able to teach you guys this. This is something I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And it's come to the, conclusion that, part of my growth is being able to teach other business owners and other gym owners specifically on how to take their business to another level. We're here to work together in conjunction to be able to make impact with all the different types of people around the world, from kids to women to men to law enforcement, people that protect us, businessmen, you name it, fighters. And we have a duty to be able to change their lives mentally, physically, and spiritually, and preach that and send that all the way. Because I can't cover every place of the planet. I can't cover every city, but we can together to make it work. And part of this is just passing it down and paying it forward. You already know, this is your boy Mateo, owner of BOXR and One of One. Let's go. Boom.